Okay, hello, fellow hell divers and everyone of the gaming world. My name is Gamble Jacks, and we are actually starting this in regards of an interesting talking point. I'm actually with my friend here, Blood Soaked, and we brought up an interesting conversation in regards of the fall of the loss of Cyberstan with the mission failure. All right, so Blood Soaked, you and I we're currently live at this time, and you and I have been talking about the reason of the fall of Cyberstan and your angle of approach on this. If you could, please explain to the audience what you told me.
You have this illusion of choice where they say they want the players to control the game. They say they want the players to have a choice, but there was no choice. The player base has knocked out major orders within a day and a half, 2 days at most, and we had some of the highest numbers ever recorded on Cyberstan. Over, 250,000, 300,000 people on Cyberstan at one time, completing all range of levels. From 1 all the way up to from 1 all the way up to 10. And you're telling me that in 11 days we couldn't complete this order and the numbers barely went up a 0.1 percentage? That to me is a scripted loss. They wanted us to lose this. And then there was the glitch where any death suffered in the game counted against the reinforcements for Cyberstan. That didn't get fixed. And then there were the Vox engines that would just spawn 4 or 5 at a time, 6 at a time, especially at Extract. That sounds like it was planned to fail, going more into this was scripted. So there was no choice. It was, you're going to lose Cyberstan. Oh, by the way, while we're losing Cyberstan, quick, go over to the bug front for the players that don't ever want to get off the bug planets. Let's get them involved. And we need some of this bug juice. And then once that was done, it was, oh, well, save the Sieve soldiers while trying to save Cyberstan. But it was all intended for us to lose this major order. But then they want to look at us and say, oh, well, not to misquote what the PR for Helldiver said, but it was essentially, lower the difficulty and don't worry about sweeping the entire map. I don't know, maybe fix the game first and fix all the glitches.
Right, I agree. This is something that could have been done as an easy standstill to incorporate the matter of that glitch. Like you said, I've been on this game off and on, and I can see that we were bound to lose Cyberstan regardless, even with all the players, all the personnel on there for a strategic victory. And I believe what you explained to me earlier is that it sounds like the dungeon master wasn't happy that we were doing against his script, which I believe some D&D players can agree and vouch for that. That sometimes a dungeon master can be like a little child.
Right, and that's after reading some of the interviews pre-Cyberstan and during Cyberstan, like I think the operation had just dropped, and what it really honestly sounded like was a dungeon master. Like, oh, well, we're giving players the choice of what happens in the game. No, you're not. The players came in with resounding numbers, swarmed Cyberstan, swarmed Cyber Normandy, and purged that level, even with all the glitches, even with the bouncy castle stratagems bouncing everywhere, or the game dropping you into a meat grinder or a lava pit. Even with all those, we swarmed that entire planet. And the fact of, oh, well, we want to give you the choice. No, you didn't. It was throwing us into a meat grinder, walking into a hell bomb repeatedly, yet it was our fault that we lost Cyberstan. No, you had a direction you wanted to go with this, and that's what you chose, while telling the players, oh, come on, guys, do better. No,
Right.
don't blow smoke up my ass.
Right, that is exactly the same repeat I was getting too, when the fact that people were talking about how prior to the updates at the start of the game, and the moderators and admin teams on the Discord channel will talk about do better on the gameplay. I believe we both agree in the moment here that gaming itself. Now, both me and Blood, do respect the game Helldivers. It's a good lore, it's a good game. But the problem is that we are concerned that Arrowhead might be going down the same road as other gaming companies have gone, which is gaming company suicide.
Hmm. For me, the thing is like, yeah, absolutely, I love Helldivers too. I was really happy to find a game that was just had a very very cool approach, very much like Starship Troopers. With a mix of other sci-fi properties here and there, but the direction that they're going is often the precursor for what has this game turned into. If I'm on this game to have fun, blow up some bugs, bots, and squids, chat with my friends, hang out, have a good time. But if it's going to be where you're just wanting to slam your head against the wall because of all the glitches, or hey guys, here's this new awesome thing we introduced into the game, like the tank, but its armor could barely support the planet it was made for us to go on, or here's this amazing weapon. Oh no, fans are having too much fun, we can't have that, we gotta nerf it. Or they nerf the weapon and then they shadow buff the enemies like they did the squids, and then made the bots faster, more aggressive, easy to throw those flares off. And it's like, why are you doing this? It's the age-old meme someone came out with Helldivers a while ago, where it's like, you're having fun? Stop it.
Right, and they, what they claim as well, all in the sake of realism, which actually gets to my next talking point: the word realism. I hate to break it to Arrowhead if they're looking for realism. I understand weapon realism. Yes, okay, that's fine. But I didn't appreciate the fact you took my precious ultimatum and made it where it would nerf against a jammer. Which, here's an idea. Let me at least use a whole 2 sets of ultimatums to destroy a jammer. And like you said, you're having fun, stop having fun. That's not what gaming's about. Gaming is supposed to have fun, to forget about things. And realism should be one of the things we need to forget about to have fun. Because, like, you guys got rid of the glitch, which would have been a very famous glitch of us surviving a fall with an emote. You're literally trying to put realism in a science fiction game. I want you to put 2 and 2 together on that one.
Or let's also take a look at the C4 not being able to take out city walls. So you're telling me this C4 can take out a Hulk, can take out a flesh mob, can blow up other stuff, but it can't take out a little wall. And I hate to break it to Arrowhead, but if you're talking about realism, we're on a spaceship that travels at faster than light with current projections. No matter can travel the speed faster than light. It's not possible. So there goes your realism. We have weapons that are firing plasma. We're fighting. We're fighting giant squid people and bugs and Terminators. Where's your realism there? So it's this picking and choosing of, we're gonna allow all this to happen, but what would make our fans happy, your bread and butter, that's gonna be where they say, well, no, that's not realistic. So we're not gonna do that. And I understand having a certain guiding principle of, okay, look, this is science fiction, but we don't want to go too crazy with this. We don't want Helldivers to have an armor that, or turn their bodies into pure plasma and just nuke the game. No, yeah, I understand that. But let's get off of our realism high horse a little bit here and realize this entire game is science fiction.
Exactly. Science fiction is science fiction. You can make it up as you go, kind of thing. Like make it like yeah, sure. The humans can survive a 40-foot drop with the emo. Let it be happy. It's funny because as an example, Grand Theft Auto left a glitch purposely in their games. Everyone knows this glitch, so I don't have to repeat it. But it involves the police units. For those who don't know, that glitch was actually a good thing that they left in multiple amounts of their games until this latest one, if it ever comes out.
Well, even when it does come out, does anyone even really want to play it besides 13-year-olds?
Exactly. Which is what we're trying to avoid. Like this point of matter is that this game is, like you said, science fiction. It
Mm-hmm.
needs to be more on a science fiction fun thing. I get it. Some realism on some of the weapons, yes, but make it more enjoyable. Don't just make it the fun thing. And it's not my fault that you guys did not have a backup plan if you did lose Cyberstan. Because you guys talk about it several times, you had a backup plan. My assumption, excuse my assumption, is that you guys never actually had a backup plan after Cyberstan.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I mentioned earlier with YouTuber Boris T, who has an amazing black metal band, Shigaloff. You should definitely check him out. He made a comment a little while ago that the reason games were fun back in the day, is because they were made by nerds. They were made by people who loved video games and wanted to make cool video games. But now they're not made by nerds anymore. They're made by corporations. They're made by seeing the highest possible dollar possible. You know, and I know in an interview, Arrowhead said that if they got 50,000 players, they were just like, wow, that's our benchmark. This is incredible. We never expected this. And I know Helldivers exploded in popularity way before they thought it was going to happen. But it just seems like in the pursuit of gaining more players and putting the direction of the game that they want forward, they left their fans behind.
That is true, and that's actually the typical thing that does happen with a lot of companies. I do recall a reference I came across that ChatGPT originally was meant to be an AI company that was for the public viewing until a company bought them out, and now they're under the corporate greed ladder, as an example. And, you know, human is human. I understand people want to make money, but there is such thing as a boundary you need to hold yourself accountable to, or a leash that you need to tie to yourself to understand this is how far I'm willing to go, kind of scenario. You were actually bringing this up, Blood, about the Dead Space game as the example of the first, second, and third. Go ahead, explain that again real quick.
The too long didn't read version, there is a video out there where Visceral Games were talking about what happened with EA and the three Dead Space games. But it was EA approached Visceral Games when they were creating Dead Space and said, hey, we have this new idea that we want to do called microtransactions, and you're going to be on board for this. And Visceral Games said, hey, let us do the first game the way we want, and we'll revisit this. Second game, EA Studios says, all right, we want that sweet, sweet microtransaction money, and we want multiplayer. So Visceral Games said, hey, how about we do the multiplayer, which actually was really fun, just bare bones fun multiplayer, and we ditch the idea of microtransactions altogether. Well, when the third game came out, EA came up and said, we're taking control of your game. You're going to have microtransactions, and we want multiplayer, and we are also going to be ditching the horror aspect because of games like Resident Evil 5. We want it to be co-op, we want it to be action, hoorah, gung-ho. And as soon as you got to your workbench, for those that are familiar with Dead Space, you go around the ship looking for schematics of weapons, and you have to find the parts for them to build them. But with this, it was, for $5, you can buy this grip. And for $10, you could buy this barrel. Ooh, for just $1.99, you can get this sight. Ooh, you want to buy some more ammo? Just go ahead and buy it right here. Don't worry about actually playing the game and finding the stuff. You don't have time for that. Just buy it. Just give us some more money. You know you want to. And that killed Dead Space. That is the game that put Dead Space in the ground forever. You had some of the two best horror sci-fi games ever created, Dead Space 1 and 2. And with the third one, dead.
Yep, agreed. And that's what's killing the industry too, with these microtransactions. Now, if we were to, and as you and I were talking about this, I do recall a certain file that's out there. We know which one we're talking about, so don't pretend you don't know, audience. The certain federal file that was to be released, talking about how a certain individual was going to these companies, an example, introducing the microtransaction process. Now, I definitely know Call of Duty was one of them, but you know how sometimes people take a fashion trend approach to it, which while other small companies are using it as microtransactions, then the big company doesn't want to look like they want to get phased out by it. That kind of scenario, which is what's probably what's part of the formula. Which I'm okay with microtransactions. I'm okay with them, but to an extent and to a limit. Like you can make microtransactions as long as someone is able to get them within the game. Now, Arrowheads, I believe they got it kind of nailed out, but I feel like there is still holes for improvement on it. What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, so I am strongly against microtransactions. I was actually talking with my friend's kids just a few years ago, and that's all they know are microtransactions. I told them, take a look at Tekken 2. Tekken 2, they had hidden characters, alter egos of the main characters, and you unlocked them by simply playing the game. Such an unheard thing in this new era of gaming. Well, since 2008. So 18 years. There are 18-year-olds that have never known just playing a game and unlocking levels, unlocking characters for fun. So, like I said, Arrowhead with Helldivers 2 has a great game. Like they definitely have a great setup. You can play against giant bugs like Starship Troopers. You can play against Terminators. And then if you're, into StarCraft, you can have fun against the Protoss. Well, a Lovecraftian idea of Protoss. And that's great. It's a great setup. It's just a really cool, simple idea of taking Starship Troopers and those other sci-fi elements that I was talking about and making it so ludicrously pro-democracy that it's the inside joke that is the joke of the game, but it's still a fun, serious, at times, game. But with the current advent of the directions of the scripted loss and the fact that Tencent has recently acquired, I believe it was 15% of Helldivers, of Arrowhead Studios, that makes me nervous because they like to push their weight around to change directions of games and even censor games. If it's not good for the People's Republic of China, it is going to be banned from the game. And then soon, if anyone says free Hong Kong, we're going to have another scenario like what happened with ActaBliz when that Hearthstone champion that was due to win $10,000 for that competition said free Hong Kong, and Blizzard banned their account, refused to give out the money, and nuked his entire profile. Then it had senators stepping up saying, why does an American company care about what China feels? So and that's what got Blizzard scared, so they unbanned him. I still don't know if they actually paid him his winnings, but when I see Tencent buying into a company, that's when the writing's on the wall that this is going to be just a marketing game. We're soon going to see hey, you know what? For just $1.99, you could call in another stratagem, or hey, for this Helldivers Plus, you could bring in 5 or 6 stratagems instead of just 4.
And that, yeah, and that is one of the things that does concern me actually, in regards of that we're going to be having that situation where they're going to start putting how much stratagems can we have in the field. And I hate to break it, like I like the fact I like the stratagem thing and whatever, but you're right. Companies have been known a lot of the time. They're not based on audience anymore. They're not based on their fan base holding them up. It's now which company is willing to buy them out kind of procedure. And there is I hate to say it this way, but there's no pride. There is no pride. Like how someone would appreciate the design of their game. And then, like, even like this, like, I'll put an example here. Like, EA, right now, there's been a fan base that's been screaming at them until they're all purple in the face to release a Titanfall 3 game, which they never have. They never even brought hints about it. And they're bringing out these games that no one wants.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not taking it's like if your audience had such a voice and you talk about how you're for your audience, then why are you not doing it? Why are you just coming up with snarky remarks and everything like that? And then you're asking them to pour money into it. Technically speaking, if this was stock buying, you're literally turning your audience into your investors. And if you're not going to give them a voice, then what's the point? What's the point of you buying the
Exactly.
game?
Exactly. It has gone so far away from, hey, look, you know what? This one game that we released sold 2 million copies. This one game that we released over here sold 5 million copies. It was the advent of games like Call of Duty, where it's 35 million copies, 60 million copies, 100 million copies, that now companies see games that could potentially only sell, quote, only sell 2 million to 5 million. It's not deemed financially worth it, especially if it's just a single player, no multiplayer, no live action. Then that's what makes companies start saying, you know what, what's the current trend? Let's put some battle royale in here. Like one of my favorite companies, FromSoft, with Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, they then were like, ooh, how can we cash in on the current trend? Hey guys, more Elden Ring is coming out. I was excited. Night Rain. Okay, cool. Let me learn more. Wait a minute. It's just Battle Royale, but with Elden Ring. Because they're chasing, comparison is the thief of joy. And that's what we're getting. How can we fit in Battle Royale? How can we fit in Prop Hunt? How can we fit in this current trend to make more money and sell more units and get more players to stay active on our servers, instead of how can we just create a fun game that people will enjoy?
Right, exactly. And that's what gets me. That's why you're seeing all these repeats of games. I know we're kind of repeating the same things that are going on currently and everyone's aware of, but I just still feel like this is something that does need to get to attention to everyone to understand that eventually gaming is going to be in a dull color faction. And I even brought up this conversation with you, Blood, about how gaming is now starting to become a job versus an
Mm-hmm.
actual thing to enjoy. You gave me an example of some of your colleagues you know about. Go ahead.
Yeah, years and years ago, I was working graveyard shifts, and I had 2 guys that ran a server for World of Warcraft, a game I've never played, game I don't want to play. And they were just talking about their server, and they were just saying, "Oh, we got to promote this person. We got to do this. What's our strat for this? What are we gonna? Oh my God, what are we gonna do for this?" And it was 8 to 10 hours every single night. That's all they talked about. I looked at them and I said, "You guys make it sound like it's a job and not fun." And they're like, well, it is a job. It's fun for us. You should try. You can get on our server. And I said, I'm not paying $15 a month just to play a game. Now take a look at freaking PlayStation Plus and all that. But it smacked me in the face all those years ago of that's not fun for me, to have so much stress about something that's just supposed to be fun, an escape. Get on, chat with your friends, blow up some bugs, bots, and squids, and you're like, all right, man, see you tomorrow. Like we're gaming is no longer, oh man, just like one more mission, just one more level. Oh, this is so much fun. Now it's, by the time you're in your second or third match, you're just like, I got laundry to do. I want to go do the dishes. Who wants to go race to do the dishes and go do laundry?
Yep, exactly. And then here's the other thing I catch on this one too. Like I said, and like that's what the other thing that gets me, because what the games were back in the early 2000s, and I believe someone did bring this up, that they were actually a lot more funner, and actually gaming did require a little more skill on the matter. And this is where I'm going to call people out on this. Gaming companies too. First off, your games may be a trend, yes, but however, your games are an infinite inventory. It's not like spoiled food or fruit or whatever that can go away in a heart attack. So you don't need to have your prices up to almost $100 just to sell your games, especially when they're half-baked and ruined at the start, like within 1 week that there's already bugs being spotted on it. A long time ago, when games were released, they were refined on their releases before finalizing. I can say that's equivalent to a asking for a steel sword out of a blacksmith. He just gives you the ingot. That's how I look at it.
Well, right. Well, and it's very much people are choosing to no longer refine the game, no longer focus time on the game. They're choosing, you know what, let's just put it out now, get the money, because we have to hit within a certain margin, and we can always do a day one patch. That's the coward's way out. You're releasing a broken product. You know it's a broken product. And you're having your fans be your unpaid testers. Like, hey, I noticed on level 3 this area right here, or I noticed when we get to this certain area or use this weapon, we're having a problem. Great, thanks, we'll fix it. That's a tester. Are you gonna pay me for testing your broken game that you made me spend the full amount for? No, you're not.
Great. Like I would actually say that's like, if it was me, I'd give them like a reimbursement or at least a credit towards the fact that they found something that was missed entirely during the production process. But we already know.
Yeah.
Like an example, another thing too. If I recall, the actual founder of CEO of Nintendo has gone away. If I recall, he has passed away, and now new CEOs are stepping in, and it's the same thing that happened with Steve Jobs and every other company. Corporate suicide. They go from let's take care of the customers to let's make some money. When they should understand that when you take care of the customers, the money will follow suit also.
Exactly. Companies are quickly throwing away the fan base, because if you were to release, let's say you release a game and it only gets that 2 to 5 million mark, if you were to just consecutively release this game, you would still be selling 2 to 5 million units per game. You make 5 in the series, you've got a dedicated, loyal fan base. But that's gone away with now. I mean, take a look at, I believe it was the CEO of Sony that said, we're going to make 11 or 13 live action games within a 2 to some odd year time frame. But if you do that, you are screwing yourself, because what you're doing is you're creating so many choices for the player that they have to be on for these live service games that you're losing more money. There's a reason why a company, let's say like DC Warner Brothers, why they will not release 2 DC films in the same month, because you're competing against yourself. And now they've had so many cancellations of that 13 game target, and then one of the games literally was out for a week. The marketing push was I can't remember the name of the game, but it was kind of like Borderlandsy. One of the games was out for a week, and then they killed the entire game, nuked it all off the platform. And I'm like, okay, did you reimburse the fans? Because just take a look at these live action games, these live service games, where every single I talk to my friends and they say I have to do my dailies, and they're on 3 hours just going from game to game to game, like collect 5 mushrooms, skin this many animals, collect this many dinosaurs, kill this many squids, or use this weapon so many times. You're making it a chore. You're making it a job.
Exactly, and the rewards for that are slim to none. Now, this is something I can call out Arrowhead on, because this is the same thing we're dealing with this game. And they want to talk about how they want to build up teamwork. Here's an idea for you, Arrowhead, if someone's willing to listen to this. Make it to where, do not give us the same daily mission as a starter thing. You want us to work as a team, you want us to socialize, get things done faster, then make us coordinate. Like, let Blood here have a different mission versus what my mission is. So that way, we have to actually strategize as a team to get the proper answer that needs to get done. That's one way to make it to where there is actually an active dynamic, instead of Blood here going solo, if you will, as an example, and doing it by himself because no one else is willing to go on the same page, or someone else has already done their stuff, as an example. But yes, it is a chore. Games are so on these chore things, when actually a game should be, I would say, a quarter of a life speed. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't just take you several hours just to do a daily thing, when it should take you only a couple minutes or so. Like, small bite-sized little accomplishments is what it's supposed to do. That's gaming, because it's not supposed to reflect too much realism. And it goes back to that realism comment that we said earlier about how these games are focusing so much on this realism, they're actually forgetting what their game was originally about.
Yeah, because I can't remember the last time I went in my yard and I saw a 6-foot bug crawling towards me, spewing from its ass. There are some big bugs in my backyard, but not 6 foot. So where's your realism in that? Again, circling back to the realism issue.
Yes, agreed. And it just doesn't help at all that they want to just focus on that a little too much. And I get it, maybe it's okay, because I know this. Game companies get money for the fact that people are playing their game. Live event stuff, sure, whatever. But if you guys are focusing on the idea that's for us to play it, and you're calling it a chore, or if we're calling it a chore, then you're doing something wrong, obviously.
Exactly. If I am getting on the game and begrudgingly wanting to play it, just like, sure, fine, I'll get on. That's how I got with Call of Duty. That game, that series just went into the dumpster many, many, many years ago. So back when I still had the game, my friends would be like, hey, do you want to play some Call of Duty? Like, no, not at all. Not at all. Back in Modern Warfare 2 days, sure, absolutely, let's get on, because that was fun. Or going to my other comment I made earlier, Killzone. The headpiece that I'm wearing right now for the Scout. Killzone was fun. Killzone 2 was probably some of the most fun I ever had online. And because Guerrilla Games didn't have faith in themselves and didn't have faith in their product, they caved and went more of a Call of booty route for 3, and that's why it suffered. But oh, it's got this new 3D effect for 3D TVs where the snow looks like it's actually. I don't care. Focus on your game. Or God of War 3. You can see Kratos' muscles when he climbs a wall. I don't care. Your story was half baked for God of War 3. You had God of War 1 and 2, top tier. God of War 3, there were some cool moments, but oh, look, it's pretty. And then because Killzone 3 failed, and then Shadowfall failed so hard, they gave up entirely. I mean, even for Killzone 3, the button configuration was no longer Killzone 2. It was a replica of Call of Duty's, which I preferred Killzone's button layout. So having to learn Call of Duty's was a pain. But then again, they just caved and said, you know what, we're running away from Killzone. We don't want to make it anymore. We're going to make Horizon Zero Dawn. And no disrespect to Horizon fans, I don't care about Horizon Zero Dawn. Give me back Killzone, and if Guerrilla Games doesn't want to do it anymore, give it to somebody who will, because you did this collaboration with Helldivers 2, as evident by my headpiece. And then when fans said, oh, is something coming? Is something coming? Guerrilla Games' response was, we are not in the interest of making another Killzone game. Well, then why'd you even bother?
Right, exactly. And that's where it goes on to my other relay about that too. That some companies are indeed willing to self-sabotage their own stuff. Like, I don't care what kind of company jargon or whatever. I don't care if it's because you lost the main developer guy who actually put the things together because of some little spattle or chain of command changes. That's on you. That is on you guys for ruining such titles and things that actually had their own uniqueness and prestige that you could say, this is my game, I built this, I love it, kind of thing. And that's what's happening here. I've heard several games before. I was even part of a testing of a game that was literally canceled by its own team. And in testing purposes, it sounded like it was something good that with small improvements could have been great of a game. But corporate greed apparently always wins. And I'll put another example on here. Now, another genre I want to bring into is Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed title, great games, great story, great lore. However, at one point, you saw that each of the games had its own unique systems and their own unique build-ups. Now, it's starting to feel like they're just repeating the same systems or cookie cutting the software. And I'm starting to see it between both Assassins and Tom Clancy's Division. They're not adding much uniqueness between the two games to make it different, besides one having machine guns versus one having just blades and time travel.
Well, right, you bring up a good point, because Assassin's Creed got to the point where they were racing to make a new game every year, or close to a year and a half. A new game was coming out to try and get as much money as they could. And they even said, hey guys, we've been racing to make a new game for so long, we kind of lost touch with what Assassin's Creed was, so we're going to take a break. We're going to cultivate a new game after this time, but we need to take a break and remember where we started, get back to basics. But then, once they had huge success with that game, what did they end up doing? The same thing. Go back to
default. Yep.
They went back to default. Race out that new game. What time period can we do now? Slam a game together, throw it out. What time piece can we do now? Piece it together, throw it out. Add, rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat.
Right. This is something that should not be something that has to be done that way. It's literally like you're literally. I have to put it this way: you're not a car company.
Mm-hmm.
Car companies release cars every year. Now, I'll call them out too. I'll call them out also. I'll call out every other company when they come out with a new phone, when they come out with a new tablet, when they come out with
Yup.
this, when they come out with that. Take your time when doing it. You got the money, you got the money. Just take your time with it and make sure it's done right. Because there has actually been sometimes, and yeah, Samsung is one of the people with their whole battery explosion thing that they happened. You know, something that could have been avoided if they didn't just rush through production so quickly. And I'll put a military one in here too. The F-35, Lockheed Martin. They rushed a production of a stealth aircraft and did not take the time to make sure the prototype was refined enough for mass production before they started seeing bugs and errors. Now they got trillions of dollars of waste on a stealth aircraft that they need to sell to other countries. If I was a leader of a country, I'd be like, I'm not buying that. I don't care how stealthy it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going back to gaming, because this is all about gaming. And similar to what game companies have been trying to say too, that they say the reason their games are terrible, and I hate when they do this. It's the fault of your customers that your game is terrible. Do not use that as your excuse of that. That is the most pathetic excuse you can ever say. Like, basically, you're saying, it's your fault I'm not getting richer kind of thing.
Yeah, it's essentially whenever anyone gets mad for legitimate reasons and they voice these complaints, well, we're trying to give our fans what they said they wanted. No, you're not. You're chasing the almighty dollar. That's exactly what you're doing. You know, it's the point that I made earlier about the black metal band Vatane. One of the best black metal bands, period. They released an album back in 2013, and on one track, after 4 records, for just one track, they wanted to do clean vocals. And I was fine with that because they did it in their own way. Eric did it in his own way. It was just for that one track, and they're like, cool, we did it, let's move on. But other bands, or games in this instance, will lose their identity chasing something new, to where now you look at the game and you're like, what even is this? Like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. I never had a chance to play those games, but my friends and other people herald those as some of the best hallmark, benchmark moments in Call of Duty's franchise, that these were the best games. And then the last Call of Duty game I had played was Modern Warfare 2. Years go by, I then pick up Black Ops 3. I put this game in, I start playing, I'm like, what even is this anymore? It's wall running, G sliding, double jumping. What do I have in my hands here? I wanted boots on the ground, and there's these exosuits and all this. You completely lost your identity. And they kept running with that, and then they tried to go to somewhat back to boots on the ground, but then of course it goes into the what time period can we do now? You know, you had the Civil War one, not Civil War, Cold War. You had the Cold War one, and I'm just looking at this game like it's just a reskin. All of your games are reskins now. You know, there's only so many games you can release that has, oh, you know what? We have 20 weapons in this game. Oh, well, our next one, we have 25. Oh, you know, it's like, I don't care. Just make a fun game. Anything else you are trying to strive for, I literally could care less. And if that happens, I'm not touching your game.
Right. Now, I do see that also, what the plus side of things, I do see the merging of more indie game developing companies. Whether they're doing it for the passion of the gaming or just trying to build their own brand of advertising and money making, you know, that's all up to them. But I can definitely tell you this, that if these indie companies aren't willing to learn the mistakes of these big corporations and companies, then they're just doomed to repeat the same thing that they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Arrowhead can be on that list. I'm not saying it is now, but it can be. And it can happen because someone chose the wrong choice, chose profit over people. Because it's your fan base that buy into the game, that buy into the merch, that buy into the lore, and love to play it and socialize with their friends. Like, in all honesty, I'll put it this way: Helldiver game is like me going out playing golfing with my buddies. That's how I compare it to. That's my own personal observation. I'm not willing to go into the high level diehard things unless I have a really good squad with me at the time. But other than that, I'm just here for the laughs, the funs, whatever. So I'm not into the just going into heavy stuff with some randos.
Yeah, no, because most often than not, when you jump in with some randos on any level, there's no microphone, there's no teamwork, there's no working together. It's these three other chuckleheads that you end up getting in there with that have that plan to do things their own way, not be team focused. And before you know it, you know, like, I like to dive down and help people, but I have dived down on missions that had only been running for 5, maybe 7 minutes, and they're already down to, they only have 2 reinforcements left.
Yep, and that is problematic. That is a problem too. But I mean, gameplay is gameplay, right? And
Right?
that's how it's done. So I can't really fully argue with that. But I can see a small. Here's an input here. Now listen to this. Listen to this, blood, as an example of an idea. So you know how you run low on reinforcements? Yeah, if they want to go in that small micro transaction, make us give up our samples to buy more reinforcements to survive.
Yeah, you know, like kind of like what they did with the commando missions. You have to find
Right.
the to earn more reinforcements. You got to find these spots for them and activate them. Why don't you make like a little kiosk or something, like where we deliver the like the little mailbox that you deliver the SSD to? You know,
Right.
yeah, walk up to that kiosk, drop in some samples, make it actually worth it for people who are in the higher levels and don't need those samples. Plug in some samples. Oh, look, now you've got 2 or 3 reinforcements. For every sample you
Right.
put in, whether it's common, rare, or the supers, you get this many reinforcements. But I can also see with other companies, and if Arrowhead's not careful, I can see it being, hey, for $5.99, you get 5 reinforcements right now.
And that's where it loses the entire lore, where it literally comes a pay to play or pay to win kind of scenario on a player versus environment game.
Because there was a quote by the EA CEO, I believe at the time, I don't know if he still is, but there is an actual quote. There's video footage of this where he was talking about Battlefield, and he was interested in you're playing online and you run out of ammo, and a little text pops up and says, for $1.99 you could buy a full clip. And if it were me in that moment, I'd want to win the game. So what's $1.99? I would definitely pay that. That's where I want to see gaming go. I'm like, then you have created a microtransaction fast food type environment for a game that should be fun and actually use strategy. Because Tekken, going back to gaming, Tekken was one of the greatest series of all time. You know, Tekken 5 is absolutely the peak of all the characters at that time. They were all running on all cylinders. Then you had Tekken 6, which was a huge letdown. But then you had Tekken 7, which was even more of a letdown. Because it was focused on, hey, remember these characters you played on, you know, all the games prior, all of them that we had you be able to unlock? You now had to buy them. You see this really cool level, you now have to buy them. And that is what gutted Tekken for me. But even more so on Tekken 7, a strategy fighter, which is what I preferred about Tekken. was that it was so focused on learning your opponent and learning the moves. Now it was, hey, if you hold L1 and press any button, you'll immediately do a 6-hit combo. No skill necessary, just hold L1.
Yeah, that's what actually I do see the lacking of. That there's now the lack of timing on characters. I do recall like a while years ago that when you fought a boss, they didn't give you hints on where he was going to hit something, right? Like they like
Right.
no timing or no nothing. Like if it hits you, it hits you. If you didn't dodge, you didn't dodge. If you didn't pay attention, you didn't pay attention. And I mean, if you want to talk about realism, there's a real life realism that actually can be incorporated. You don't know when someone's going to throw the punch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I can name two boss battles, 3 boss battles off the top of my head where it was just so unknown, but it was fun. One of them being pretty grueling. You know, I can name right now Zurvan on Prince of Persia 2 Thrones, Radek in Killzone 2, and then I forget his name, but it was in Heavenly Sword, Andy Serkis's character, the main villain. There were like 3 or 5 phases to that boss fight where he got full health all the time, but you were stuck with the health you got. You didn't get any health boosters. That one was, it's just a massive pain in the crotch, you know, but it was still fun because you were expecting the unexpected. You were encouraged to find any weak spots you could to attain that victory. Now it's just so laid out for you, or in other games it's, you know, oh well, if you buy this weapon or if you get this uniform and this war bond, it may have a slight little perk, a little advantage. And it's like, yeah, sure, I don't mind there being some really cool passives for some uniforms. Like right now, I'm wearing the stealth passive with my bat nipples. You know, I don't mind that at all. But when it comes to the point of this game now feels unplayable unless you get the latest war bond or whatever insert game franchise here with their thing, then it's just, okay, now you're making me feel stuck to farming and finding super credits, which are already in most spots pretty hard to find. It starts pushing you into the, well, it'd be easier if I just bought the super credits. And I'm not doing that.
Right, because a while back it was pretty more simpler just to get a hold of credit farm and make it easier for people. And then it goes right back to that chore thing again. Now working a chore to get super credits. Now I understand maybe a small random drop of stuff. Like, okay, you can relate to this one because you're talking about scale, right? Like, gamers can relate to this. Like, you know how you go into an RPG game or whatever, and you see this huge pile of treasure, gold, and whatever. But when the moment you grab it, it is nothing compared to the scale of value that you just saw. You know what I mean? Like, we can see a pile of super credits, like 20 of them, and we only get 10. I understand that maybe that's something to save time, but please seed it properly so we get an idea of scale. Because then that way, just like how some people would get 100 super credits from one little slot, make it match the actual value, what you actually have in there. I understand you guys are cutting corners and stuff, but please, come on. You want to talk about realism?
Yeah.
There you go. Realism of value.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I stumble across a cache of super credits, if I see a big fat pile in front of me, I'm gonna think that's 100. But I pick it up and it's 10. Why not just have like a simple like poker chip stack of super credits if it's gonna be 10? So that way, when you do see the big stack and it's 100, you're like, oh man, I found the 100. Because half the time I'll go credit farming, and I'm just, you know, moving to the next POI, moving to the next POI. I get up to the ship to take a look at, like, oh, I probably found like 70 or 60. You know, you take a look at the ship and you're like, oh, I found the 100 a couple times. Oh wow, Like, okay, would have been nice to know that right off the bat instead of being, grueling farming because I only needed, like, let's say X amount. Now I've way surpassed it.
Which, of course, that's still not a bad thing. But at the same time, like, give us some eye perspective a little bit on that. That when we see 10 super credits, we assume 10 super credits. Or if we see
Correct.
a big stack of them, 100 or 50, whatever, just to get a point. And that's not just Arrowhead, not just Helldivers, that's every other game possible that's done the same thing to put little to no value on their stuff because you guys didn't buy or purchase, if you will, or even upgrade to a certain skill thing. And that's where I feel like some RPGs go a little bit too heavy on the technicality of things. You know what I mean? They get too technical on the armor thickness, the luck, the perspective, that kind of thing. Now, I know one company that did it a little bit right, which I can give them some credit for, but they're still doing the same thing. Bethesda's little special system. I think that was pretty good. You know, it gave you the RPG element, but not overwhelm you in the RPG element. You know, where you have to debate every little little skill, perk, gem, whatever. Just, here's the gun, here's the stats, here's your little skill cards, use it. I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but like Fallout 76 was an example of a multiplayer game with the special system that you could swap special traits like baseball cards, which I thought that was pretty cool because that allowed you to customize yourself to a certain skill set. And it was more in plain English.
Well, let's also not forget that Bethesda reached out to the fans in Fallout 76 and said, hey guys, what would you like to see more of on the map? Some people were like, oh, stems, this health item, more ammo. So Bethesda's response to that was opening up a shop where you could simply buy it. They didn't put any more in the game. They just made it to where you could buy it to get that microtransaction. Sweet, sweet dollar.
Yeah, and that is a flaw with that. That is a major flaw with that type of processing here. That they took the moment to ask for an audience opinion, and obviously someone didn't like their opinion, and they're like, "Let's just go this way instead." It's like, well, if you're
someone saw dollar signs.
Right, exactly, but they didn't answer the problem. They may have provided a solution, but it didn't answer the actual core of the problem. That would have actually avoided a lot of that stuff.
Right. I mean, and then also let's take a look at GTA 5 online. You have this unrealistic economy in that game where a black t-shirt costs you $23,000. You know, yet if you go, let's say, in the game and you rob someone or you do some small minor heist and you come away with like $20,000, $50,000, you still can barely afford that shirt. You know, so they make it to where, oh, well, you could have businesses, you could have a bunker, you could have, the drugs, you could have all this, but when it comes time to sell your product, they give you only 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to deliver the goods, and usually, if it was a bunker, it was 2 semi-trucks with the cops coming after you, or 4 dune buggies that you had to go all the way across the map for, and who in all the gaming is going to be able to fight through all the cops, go back and deliver every single vehicle, because it's pushing you to buy the shark cards. It's pushing you to use real money to have in-game currency.
Right, and that's where it needs to really fully stop like that. So beginning games, like I understand. Okay, let me put it this way too. There is some games that did play smarter about this, and instead of actually buying where you could buy this really cool little passive sword or whatever, like you buy it just to get the skin, the item customization, which is something I'm okay with but as long as that item also is accessible to someone who grinds for it, because I'm okay with the person who is willing to work in the game or play in the game, grind for it, but it needs to be an equal fair value versus what it would be. You know what I mean? Like, I expect the same amount of time as equal to someone who just bought it. You know what I mean? Or even a lower value because you decided to take it in game. You know what I mean? Like, go on a certain set of missions, bam, here's your item you want. Because the difference is, I understand it's a grind, I understand it sounds like a chore, but the point of the matter is, it's something that the person wants. And they don't have the money to buy it, but they want to work for it to get it.
Well, right. Let's also not forget the major Battlefront 2 debacle that had microtransactions and game-changing mechanics inside loot boxes that got the attention of Hawaii and Europe, to where they were like, "Oh, this is predatory. This is gambling." That's what got the whole ball rolling. Because if you didn't unlock Luke or Darth Maul or Vader or Palpatine from these loot boxes, you could earn them in the game, but they did the math. They made it so unrealistic to earn that it was 60 hours of gaming to unlock that character. And who, with a job in modern times and has bills to pay, has time to sit there other than an hour, couple hours a night, or a couple hours a weekend to grind out to unlock their favorite character? Because then it goes back again to feeling like a chore, to feeling like a job. I'm fine, like with Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 from Warhammer, they have cosmetic only things you can do for armor and weapons. I'm fine with that because, number one, the cosmetic purchases are only like $1.99 here, $5 there. I'm fine with that because I don't need them for the game. It's just if I want to look like a certain character or look like a certain faction.
Right, exactly. That's fine because that's style, not someone buying an item that will allow them to cheat the game, if you will, or the pay to win scenario.
Right, just like with what Call of Duty again did with Black Ops 3, hiding weapons inside loot crates, encouraging people, or even in World War II from Call of Duty, where one of the dailies to do was watch a player open 3 chests, because the chests would show everyone around you what you got. This was to encourage the purchasing of in-game currency to purchase loot boxes.
Yep. And that is another typical cash grab on a lot of things. Now I'm gonna swap gears real quickly here because I know there's another game that we are leaving out of here. And I'm gonna bring this into fruition here. And I believe this is a bigger little cash grab on things. Now I know I'm gonna probably get some haters on this one, but whatever. Here I go. This is my opinion. Don't take it as factual, okay? Because I know there's people out there who don't understand that. What I'm talking about is the game Star Citizen. That game, they literally are putting the emphasis on actual money play. Now, it's not pay to win, but the fact is that they want actual cash for their latest ships, their released new vessels. Like, if you want this fancy giant destroyer, you got to pay some hard-earned cash. Last time I played the game was a couple years back. This is just my opinion on it so far. But the point of the matter is that they're asking for outside currency to help fund the game, which I understand that, investing into that. But you're asking for $150 for a destroyer, or even $300 for a frigate. And for people who want to play the game, your mass population, you're still allowing someone who has a lot of money to have these ships, purchase them, and then you have to purchase the crew, you got to purchase whatever. Now, I know the crew you can buy in game on a fuel basis kind of thing, which is fine. I'm okay with that because that involves interaction between massive multiplayer and NPC gameplay. But it's just the fact that they ask for so much money off of these larger ship vessels and capital ships and whatever. And I understand they put it like a limiter, like you may buy them, but you're not going to be able to pilot them without a crew, which is cool. They put a limit on it. I still feel they're asking more than what they should be.
Well, let's also go back a few years. I think it was 2017. No, yeah, 2017, 2018. I had a friend whose husband was really into playing a game. And when she went to go take a look at her credit card, there was $380 on her credit card that was not there the night before. And when she looked at it, it was from the game World of Tanks, where there was a tank that this guy bought, her husband bought. It was like $90, $100 for one tank to add into the game. Plus he bought other tanks in the game. And this man was 45 years old. And when she asked him, why the hell did you throw down almost $400 on our credit cards for a game? His response was, well, I needed it. I needed it to beat the game. I'm sorry. If a game is telling me I need to throw down massive amounts of money to play the game, what you've created is gambling. You've created a game in a casino. I used to work in a casino. I am very familiar with that type of a strategy when I see it. So if you're telling me I need to throw down so much money to play your game, I'm just not going to play your game.
No. And that is the problem with that too. That is the addiction of it. And also, if I recall, World of Tanks isn't like exactly like competition. I mean, there is competition in tournaments like that. I know that for certain. But it's a live event style game. The answer is there is no winning to it. You know what I mean? You're playing a game, you're playing with other competitors, and it feels like just because, and this is a logical thing, just because you have the biggest, shiniest tank or equipment doesn't mean you're the best at the game. You still have to put the skill element behind it, which, of course, I'm not calling out gaming companies for it, but the point of the matter is the gaming companies are placating on that ego to make them profit instead of focusing on the people who actually earned the right to play the game and earn the equipment.
Oh, I'll call them out. I'll call them out all day, all the time, because again, it goes back to people who are now 18 years old, legal to vote, that have never known a game without microtransactions. And what it's doing is it's creating this, why do I want to play the game when I could just throw down a few $100 to have the in-game currency, to get the gear, a few $100 every paycheck or so, to enjoy my escapism, which further goes along with the statement I said many, many years ago, that money is the lubrication for your happiness in this world. It helps gets the gears spinning, because most people don't have money to just be able to go to Europe or go on a big road trip or go wherever they want. You need money to do so. And games are art imitating life. And I don't like that. I want respect shown to me, that if I buy your game and I'm supporting you, you're going to deliver a finished product where I can be supportive of you, play your game, and unlock some really cool stuff. Like the amount of stuff you can unlock in, like, let's say Silent Hill 3 was so fun. It was so over the top, but it was just so fun to have that in a game that is otherwise so bleak, which is right up my alley. Silent Hill is one of my favorite series of all time. But when you then make it to, oh, well, if you just want to buy this really cool lightsaber looking thing, if you just want to buy this outfit, what's to stop them from saying, hey, you know what? You didn't earn this, but how about you buy the ending that you want for this game?
That's what I would call a mess up right there. An unnecessary manipulation. And that goes back to the whole thing where you don't get the nostalgia that you finished the game, that you've completed the game. It's now just like, okay, I completed a game. That kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't feel the sense of accomplishment. As a matter of fact, one of my friend's younger brothers, he was 11, 12 years old, and he would beg and scream and snot-nose cry for the next $70, $75 game. The parents would save up some money, and they would get it. He would beat it in a day because campaigns, of course, are miserably short now, and have been for a long time. I'm looking at you, Call of Duty, because their moneymaker was on the multiplayer. But anyway, he would beat these games and then sell them to his friends for like 10 or 20 bucks, and the game was only 2 days old. Because he has no sense of accomplishment. There's no victory to it.
Right, exactly. And selling it for $20, wow, that's kind of messed up in some cases, like reselling value kind of thing. But at the same time, but yeah, the sense of accomplishment, like there were some games a long time ago. You and I can relate to this. There were some games that were single player that we did finish the game for, but we wanted to go back in and play it again. Like how can I improve? What can I do better? And this was no credit, no gold. This was a what can I do to be better at it? Kind of that nostalgia of replaying the game again, replaying the scenario again. Like some RTS games I played before too, where you want to just go back into it and be like, okay, what can I do? How can I repeat my actions, or what can I do to make it more achievable and quicker?
Yeah, absolutely. Like speaking, going back to Blizzard, I used to really support Blizzard because they were just a bunch of nerds making cool games. I don't know what happened to them now, except for, of course, money and the other stuff that they got busted for doing a few years back. But StarCraft, the original StarCraft, I spent so many hours. How can I get better? How can I get better? Silent Hill again. Metal Gear Solid, and then excuse me, all these games, I wanted to go back and revisit it. I wanted to just spend more time in that game's world and just soak it all in, or even Shadow of the Colossus, But now it's game companies are too afraid to see their fans buy another game. They want them to stay stuck with the game, and again, going back to the dailies, because who knows how much money Arrowhead got from all the players being online and on Cyberstand for the server money and the revenue that was brought in for all those active users.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like you had this, like when the first time I successfully completed one of King from Tekken's 10 hit or 10 hold combo moves, I felt like I was on cloud 9. It felt so good. Now with these games, it's where's your sense of victory? Where's your sense of accomplishment?
Exactly. And it just feels like we're playing the same merry-go-round wheel. No matter what lane you choose, you're getting stuck with some little gameplay thing. And it's kind of like the grab and hold tight kind of thing, like credit card companies would do to you also. They want you to just stay in their ring and not think about something else. Like, if they're loyal to you, they will come back. I look at it that way.
Yeah.
If they're loyal to your brand, if they're loyal to this, they will come back. And if they feel, and these are your loyal fan bases, they will also call you out for something that was wrong, incorrect, And will you just take that as an insult, or would you take that as input? Like, okay, let's talk about this. What can we do to make it better? But not this whole half-baked, I'm going to lend you an ear, just throw it out later and replace it.
Right, and you bring up a good point because a fan that cares is ones that are going to voice their opinions when you start straying too far. Take a look at what happened with Kathleen Kennedy in Star Wars, how she ruined Star Wars, and not for the reasons a lot of people cry about online that are incels. I'm talking about legitimately making Rey a Mary Sue and the plot holes and saying that they weren't going to do anything with the expanded universe that George Lucas had endorsed. Because George Lucas, if you wrote a story that he loved, he would add it into canon. But with the new Star Wars, whenever anyone had legitimate gripes about the series, about what they were doing and the direction they were going, Kathleen Kennedy's response was, well, they're just haters. They don't want, they're just rabid haters. They don't want to see things change. And going back to the comment I made on Vatane, you can change things a little bit your way as long as you stay true to the universe and what came before you. But to come in there and act like to use a quote, act like you're taking action figures and creating your own thing the way you want, that's not how you treat a universe, especially one as beloved as Star Wars.
Right, exactly. And that's actually jumps on top of something else too. Now, to defend that statement, actually, also, is that yes, there are haters or trolls, if you
Oh yes,
will,
absolutely, absolutely.
That like to manipulate the verdict, like how I'll put an example here. Helldivers, when it started the gameplay, and you had people from Call of Duty jumping into this game, they weren't happy with it, and I've heard the comments. They weren't happy with it, and they wanted Helldivers to be Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like that's a you problem. If you like Call of Duty, then your loyalty should be back to Call of Duty. But there's a reason, and I'm going to call you guys out. There's a reason you're here, because you wanted a different flavor. But if you didn't like it, then uninstall it. Take off the game. You know what I mean? Show your loyalty
right.
back to Activision. Show that loyalty back to them. Because you like their game more. Don't be coming in, bringing your whole idea of a game into someone else's. That's like you coming into someone's house and telling them that you would have done it this way, this way, this way, and then just start doing it. If I was that person that invited you in, I'd tell you to get out.
Right. I mean, speaking of legitimate haters, take a look at what they did to that woman Kelly Tran who played Rose in Star Wars. The fans were the trolls were so angry at Rose's character that they bullied Tran until she just said, I don't need social media in my life anymore. Take a look at what they did to Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks. He played the role he was hired for. A goofy Gungan. That's what he was paid money to do, and acted just the way George Lucas wanted. But people bullied him so much, he got onto a bridge and almost jumped off and ended his life. Like, that is where I say, look, the director signed off on this, right? You know that the writer said, yeah, this is the way I want them to act, right? But going back to your comment, yes, I agree wholeheartedly. That was like when I was playing Overwatch before everything happened with Blitzchung, and the way they kept screwing with Overwatch over and over again. It was the fact people were coming over and they were like, well, this isn't like Call of Duty. So it's like, okay, well then go play Call of Duty.
Right, exactly. This is the whole transgression of stepping into someone else's territory kind of thing, and saying that this is how games are supposed to be, when actually that's not the case. You know what I mean?
Right. It's Yeah, it's like like you said, entering someone else's house. It's like, well, this is the way I do it in my house. I don't care how you do things in your house. This is how we do things in my house. If you don't like it, get out.
Exactly. And that's just where a lot of these fan base people don't understand that. They don't understand. Like, when you're buying a different game, you're buying a different game. Don't assume that Activision has some kind of thing in it, in that whole little thing there. And, like, they want to do little skins on Nicki Minaj and Snoop Dogg. Okay, that's them. Don't expect the same thing from another person's house.
Exactly. And I could go on all day with games like Fortnite, where you have this game where people say, "Oh, well, it's such a cool game because you could be Darth Vader, or you could be this, or you could be that." Well, that's from a different property, though. You could be Homer Simpson. That's from a different property. What in your game is actually making people want to play the game, other than, hey, for $10.99 or however much they charge for the skins,
Right.
that they're playing as someone else in your own game? That means your game is boring. That you have to bring in so many other properties to try and make it entertaining, because in this match, I'm just gonna throw out names. I don't even know if they're in Fortnite, but you can see Solid Snake go up against Thanos and Darth Vader. Like,
Right.
what? No, that's absolutely stupid. So don't then demand that other games like Helldivers incorporate something as stupid as that, or Call of Duty having Beavis and Butthead in it.
Oh, don't get me started with that one. Do not get me started. But yeah, you're right. That actually goes to the point too that the games are getting boring, and the company know it's getting boring. They know it because their latest little game they came out with that AI slop or whatever, and they want to talk about realistic. Like, last time I checked, there ain't no giant slush ball like that popping out in the middle of nowhere. And
Right, exactly.
like, if you're going to do your own lore, make sure that the lore matches to what you're trying to portray. Don't just make it, oh, it's real, and now you got 20 dozen fairies flying out of nowhere. Like, where did that come from?
Right, and to the point that I actually will give, because again, I do love Helldivers 2. So one of the credits I will give them is, with these war bonds, when they do collaborations, they're doing it within their universe. They're tying it in to how it would be in Helldivers. But adversely, what I will say is, for some of these premium war bonds that they have now, which is absolutely ridiculous, charging 1,500 super credits, yet you're only giving us the same 3 pages you would for any other war bond. What happened to the 5-page war bonds? Or the 8 pages? Now it's like,
Well,
here's your war bond.
I will jump into that real quickly here. Let me cut you off for a split second. So I do recall an update that did occur. This was from them directly. That Arrowhead, like, let me put it this way: if you bought the Democratic Demolition, that's one of them they were talking about. They were going to put a volume 2 behind it. So if you already bought it, you bought it. They're just going to put an extra tabs right under that one, so you don't have to buy like a second volume just to do it. Now, if they change it up, that's on them. That's their fault. But, and this is company decision making, whatever, yada yada. But this is what I heard so far, is that if you bought Democratic Demolition and they want to expand on that same title, then they're just gonna, if you already have it, great. Here's volume 2. You don't have to buy it again.
Well, I fully endorse that. I like that. Like, I think that's good. But with these premium ones, like for Killzone and ODST, these collaborations, at least make it worth it. Make that extra 500 go to another page, like 4 pages or 5 pages of this war bond, Instead of
Or-
just, here's your 3 pages for 1,500.
or a super credit stockpile, like one of the little credit things you can buy for a war bond. And this, like, unlike
Yeah,
the other ones, they have like one where you can get 500 super credits just from the war bond to go towards your next war bond open.
yeah, I like that.
Right. And that way it makes it more appetizing because it feels like you are getting your money worth and you're getting a small reimbursement on the side.
Exactly. You feel like you're being rewarded for, because I do appreciate that every page of the war bonds has the little 100 super credits, so it can go towards something else. I do appreciate that.
Now, there is one variable I can show much respect towards. Let me put it this way. If I have to deal with a guy in a live event, player versus player scenario, and I find out this guy is money bags and he paid someone to level his stuff up so he doesn't have to, I
like
would
Elon
spite
Musk.
that guy. Right. I will spite that guy to hell and back. But if I have to deal with a guy who grinded, no cash buy, grinded his way to that skill level, and built as an example, like a organization without putting a single outside currency in it, I'll give that person massive prop. I'll hate them still because they're probably kicking my butt so badly. But the
Hmm.
point of the matter is, I can give them more respect than the guy who just took the money, never took the time to learn the game, understand the game, and just blew it off. Now, if that guy who did the grind maybe put 5, 10, 20 bucks into it, whatever, that's like peanuts compared to the guy. Like, oh, I just want someone to play it for me so I get all the unlocks and stuff.
Right, and that goes back into GTA, where you get people who will hack the game and get all these millions of billions of dollars, and then they will be able to teleport next to you through a hack and be able to just harass you nonstop. That's like, what are you, 12 mentally? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I have no respect for you because you can use hacks and glitches to kill me every time I'm on the frickin' street, or even that hack where you could kill people if they were inside of their properties where they weren't supposed to be able to be killed.
Right, and it's that stuff that kind of ruins the whole lore of gameplay kind of thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I feel like that a lot of this stuff should be taken as input as well. Of course, this is just still our opinions on the matter, but there is some facts behind it. That gaming companies are losing their way. Indie companies are building up,
Yes.
which is terrific because it gives us that new flavor of the day. However, they are still susceptible to the same derailing as these bigger companies. That they chose not to listen.
Absolutely.
They chose not to step up, and they do not take the input as necessary. Now, there is some perks to other games, other companies that did take one or two inputs, and I'll give them that small credit. Only small because it's what happens afterwards that reflects their entire outcome. But yes, actually, in regards to that, we are out of time. I would like to thank Blood for stepping here and speaking his mind with us as well in regards to
Glad
this
to
podcast. Okay,
glad to be here.
and or video cast as well. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave it at here. My name's Gamble. You have a good one.